April 18th, 2000.
Are you okay? Are you safe back there? All right, everybody ready? Hold on to your hats very tight.
Now move away. Move away.
And go! Missile of death, missile of death, missile of death, missile of death, missile
What
of death.
do a batting cage,
Oh my God.
an alien diva, and the weather in Seattle say about our place in the universe?
Maybe we really are alone.
Tonight, there's no place like home.
From ABC News, this is Nightline. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
Nightline has been cruel-witched again, as in doing a story that might not have occurred to any one of a million other people, but one that piqued the interest and imagination of Robert Krulwich, who occupies his own peculiar and fascinating news universe. There are any number of topics that we can select here at Nightline on a given day, but usually our choice is determined by relevance, importance, or general interest. What's happening in the financial markets today would fit into all of those categories. What's happening with young Elian Gonzalez, on the other hand, may not be terribly important or relevant to most of us, but it has tended to be of general interest. Timeliness can also be a factor. Often we cover stories because there have been a number of new developments. The notion that there is no life on any planet but ours, which is Robert's focus tonight, is, when you think about it, ancient rather than new. For most of man's existence on this planet, he has tended to believe that our world is the center of the universe. There have been all kinds of theories about life after death, but it's only during the last few hundred years that man has considered the possibility of other life out there, somewhere in the universe. Recently, indeed, that has come to be regarded as something of a mathematical probability, more likely than not, if only because there are so many galaxies out there. Now, that assumption, too, is under assault. Robert Krulwich will explain why.
Remember him?
100 billion inhabited worlds.
Yeah, the great astronomer Carl Sagan used to say there are so many, many stars in the universe, he once calculated there might be
Millions of technical civilizations.
1 million fully evolved, intelligent life forms just in our own galaxy. That was Sagan. Now I want you to meet this guy. This is Professor Peter Ward, who's what you might call an un-Sagan. He's not happy about it.
Again, I really hope I'm wrong. I would love there to be aliens.
But with co-author and astronomer Donald Brownlee, he has published a book that says, on the latest evidence, Carl Sagan was probably wrong. Sagan thought that intelligent life could emerge all over, say, our Milky Way galaxy. But Professor Ward says he is convinced that there are now vast portions, most of the middle of our galaxy, and out at the edges, most of the outside of the galaxy, that are not habitable zones. That is, in these two areas, intelligent life is either not possible or very, very unlikely. Ward is much gloomier than Carl Sagan, maybe because, as he says, he works in Seattle.
Well, you understand Seattle's a very gray, rainy place, and many of these ideas come up in the middle of winter.
Oh, so if you'd been in Miami, this could have been a whole nother thing.
Entirely different. There's life everywhere.
It is true there is now a gang of astronomers and paleontologists, all of whom work in Seattle, who now champion this sadder idea. But even if Seattle did get them in the mood, they do make a compelling case that instead of Sagan's 1 million civilizations, our galaxy may be home to a much smaller number, like maybe just us.
Maybe we really are alone.
Alone? Sagan says there's 1 million civilizations, and you say 1? Come on, 1?
It's more probable than 1 million.
And here is why. We decided to take a tour of the Milky Way, courtesy of the Digital Galaxy team at New York's American Museum of Natural History.
Now let's look as we get closer and closer and move inward, see how much more packed the stars are. We see it gets lighter, and all that light is the presence of many, many, many more stars.
So if the principle here is try to avoid a crowd, as we move in, it's just too crowded.
Far too crowded, and it's too crowded not only because you have lots of neighbors, but you have big bad bullies.
In this denser region, there are exploding stars, black holes, pileups of deadly radiation. If you were on a planet in the middle of one of those two, what would be happening to you?
Bad things.
So you're being hit
You're
over
getting
and
hit
over.
by comets from the outer parts of your solar system. And if you have enough of these, you eliminate the possibility of complex life on your planet.
Okay, if conditions then are too violent here in the middle of the galaxy, let's leave and head out. What are those clouds?
Those are packs of stars, and also packs of giant molecular clouds and interstellar dust where stars form.
So now that we're out on the edge, you say that out here, if you want to build a big planet, big enough to support life, there's not enough building material here. Not enough, let's look at a periodic table, not enough Fe, iron, right?
Yeah, we don't have the irons, we don't have the uranium, we don't have the things that really keep the Earth's core very nice and warm.
So out at the edge, then, planets would look a lot like Saint-Exupéry's teeny planet for his famous Little Prince. It's too small a place to hold on to air or an atmosphere or even water. Okay, so as we move in just here, we're now coming right to where we're located. This zone here is perfect.
Seems to be.
We're moving in further. Are we still in the habitable zone? We're going in a fast whirl around here.
This is such a new concept, we're just now trying to figure out what the limits are.
Yeah, but you're guessing that complex creatures could not exist on the edge of the galaxy or in the middle of the galaxy, so we're left in a narrow zone.
That's the beauty of this, we're just beginning to know.
So the narrow zone might just be around here on the edge.
That would be my guess.
That's fairly narrow.
Fairly narrow. It certainly removes the possibility that there are 400 billion stars to look at, which is what the original Carl Sagan estimate was, that out of those 400 billion, there should be plenty of Earth-like planets. I don't think that's going to be a possibility.
Because you would only say the only strip that matters is that one strip way near the edge.
Very narrow.
But let's say, just for the sake of argument, that you've got a planet in just the right place in the galaxy. Still, for that planet to produce living creatures, or even harder, complex creatures, or even harder, thinking creatures, or almost thinking creatures, this takes such extraordinary good luck, says Peter Ward, it's just not going to happen that often. If you take, for example, our own planet, Earth, it's got a perfectly great location in its galaxy. Even so, for intelligent creatures like ourselves to evolve here, so many things have to work out just right. Ward, in effect, lists them in his book. It's a grand procession of factors. Factors, he says, that gave life enough time, enough warmth, enough stability, enough sustenance, so that living things could grow and spread and evolve. Well, some of these things are pretty obvious, some of them are technical, but some of them are quite startling, like this one coming up here. This is my favorite, the great protector, the planet Jupiter. Now, who'd have thought we needed Jupiter? But as our ancestors, the dinosaurs, learned, living creatures have to worry about these guys. In every solar system, there may be loose rocks or comets that from time to time can do great damage and destroy all complex life. You may remember a few years ago the famous Shoemaker-Levy comet that broke up and crashed into Jupiter.
That was stuff that could have been an Earth crossing or potentially have hit the Earth. Jupiter got it instead. It's one of the great interesting aspects of the last 20 years. We got to see this happen.
The Earth is very lucky to be near Jupiter. It is so massive, its gravity pulls in rocks from all over.
It just sucks them in and absorbs
So it's a
them.
vacuum cleaner.
Completely. Completely.
Which is important because these are the inner planets of the solar system. Just in from Jupiter. You are, Josh, who? Mars. You're Mars. You're Earth. You're Venus. And Zachary, who are you? Well, you're Mercury, actually. Yes. Now, all four of these planets need protections from the meteors that are coming in at horrifically fast rates. In order to protect you guys, I have, Madeline, Jupiter. Jupiter is the protector.
Are you okay? Are you safe back there? All right, everybody ready? Hold on to your hats very tight. And go! Missile of death, missile of death, missile of death, missile of death. Oh!
How much protection does Jupiter give the Earth?
We would have 10,000 balls hitting us if we had no Jupiter. With Jupiter there, we get hit by 1 or 0.
So it makes a
10,000
10,000-fold difference.
Completely.
So those kids are very, very safe.
Very safe.
But even with a great protector like Jupiter, Peter Ward's list of things necessary for intelligent life like ours, it goes on and on and on. And as the list grows longer, the chances for intelligent life elsewhere get smaller. Maybe we're not the only intelligent creatures in the universe, but still, Peter says,
I don't think there will be a Star Wars barroom scene where this famous case you can walk in and Harrison Ford is there with all these aliens. I think that if there is other intelligence in the universe, it is scattered about. I think that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence has to be continued, but I don't think it will ever succeed because the intelligences, the odds are, will be so widely scattered that we're yelling across the canyon, and they may be way over on the other side of the canyon. They never hear us, and vice versa. The distances are too great. The rarity is too great.
Which leaves you feeling lonelier than you did before you took up this enterprise, or no?
It was sad. It was sad to me that perhaps this is a vision that might be correct. We may be alone.
unless, of course, there's something wrong with Professor Ward's argument, and even he concedes there is a flaw, as you will see when we meet this fellow in a moment.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by Pfizer.
We mend broken hearts. We make people smile. We take care of best friends. We're the people of Pfizer. We develop medicines that make the world a better place. We spend over $2.5 billion a year on research. That's why we believe we'll introduce more new medicines for more diseases than anyone else. We're not just looking for cures. We're going to find them. Pfizer. Life is our life's work.
Taxi! Taxi! 59th Street video, please?
Oh, you gotta get the episode 1 video. Wait till you see the pod racing scene. Young Skywalker's racing for freedom. This is where the video kicks butt. He goes into overdrive. He never stops for anything. Never stops for... Well, you gotta see it for yourselves. From the big screen to your screen, buy the Star Wars Episode 1 video, some Pepsi, Tostitos tortilla chips, and get $3 back. Oh, joy!
They could be your daughters, bored, suburban, teenage girls from a wealthy community. But look what they do for kicks.
Give me all your money. Come on, hurry it
A
up!
shocking 2020 Wednesday.
Attention, Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Capital has your credit. Capital has your credit. Charge-off, slow pay, bankruptcy, divorce, your application will be accepted now. Billions of dollars in financial assistance have been designated to help you buy or lease almost any make and model. You deserve a second chance, and Capital Chevrolet will get you financed. Almost every buyer will be approved for up to $25,000. It's easy. Just sign and drive. Call Capital 24 hours a day. 1-800-430-5733. Call now.
From now on, every time you hear the word "the," you'll think of a delicious Schlotsky's Original. And when you hear the words "sub-sandwich," you will think of donkeys. Schlotsky's, funny name, serious sandwich. Is this an attempt by Schlotsky's Incorporated to brainwash you into eating more Schlotsky's? Yes, I mean no. It is merely a harmless advertisement. Schlotsky's, funny name, serious sandwich. And pizza.
It is possible, say Peter Ward and Donald Brownlee in their book, and even likely, that the universe is teeming with simple, primitive, living creatures. Maybe even strange little throbbing things like this could turn up all over the place, even in our own solar system. But the chances that this throbbing thing could have the incredible good luck and the time and the conditions necessary to evolve into this, a classic intelligent alien, that, they say, is so unlikely.
How many creatures are there, would you guess, in the whole universe like that?
And the universe is a very vast, open place. Let's just kind of restrict it to our galaxy.
Yeah.
On optimistic days, I'm voting for 10.
But wait a second, why can't you have an intelligent creature in a throbbing, pulsating body? Maybe way out there somewhere on the planet Xantar, this is an inventor having an idea. Or this is a singer singing a song. Why can't intelligence come in a completely un-Earth-like package? Why do intelligent creatures need oxygen and water and sunshine and all those conditions that Ward says have to be there? Why?
Well, the game I play, unfortunately, requires me to follow rules. So I have to follow the rules of science and physics.
But aren't the rules that you've chosen to obey a little narrow?
They're very narrow. We are saying that the rules that apply to us apply everywhere, that life can only be life as we know it, that it has to have water and all these things. And I freely admit that this is perhaps a failure of our imagination. But this is a case where no one has been able to show theoretically how to build any other kind of life except our own DNA-based life.
If it's going to be swimming, it's got to have the
Send
mating and
messages
so on.
from cell to cell.
It's cell to cell. It would probably have a nervous system, at least a nerve net.
Biologist E.O. Wilson of Harvard University kind of agrees with Peter Ward that life elsewhere will probably have nerves and cells like life here. And if life everywhere is built like life here, then like life here, it may take a long time and extraordinary good luck to evolve intelligence. So if intelligence is very rare, it may be that Carl Sagan was wrong about how many civilizations there are in the universe, and Peter Ward and the unsagans are right. But consider the consequences. Suppose we do discover evidence of life on Mars. That would be very exciting.
There's an unbelievable excitement.
So fascinating.
Awe-inspiring as can be imagined.
But the unsagans would say, just because we discover microbes doesn't mean we're any closer to finding intelligent creatures. If there are 1 trillion planets that have microbes on them and 10 with intelligent life, if you bump into a microbe, it doesn't get you too far.
Again, I really hope I'm wrong. I would love to have a sense that we could get out of this solar system I think we're trapped in and be able to find intelligent life or even animal life in all the surrounding stars. And I don't think that's going to happen.
Because even if aliens like this do exist, says Peter, they're going to be so rare and so distant from us, for all practical purposes, they will be unreachable. Because remember, we can't go faster or maybe even close to the speed of light. So all the TV shows and all the movies that show us traveling in giant spaceships across the universe, those adventures, guesses Ed Wilson, will never happen. Humans will never travel to meet aliens in distant galaxies.
Possibly to near stars, sure. But I doubt if the human species will ever be a spacefaring species.
The distances are so great. We've seen too many movies where we can get from point A to point B so quickly. It just isn't going to be that way. It's not going to be that way. You do have to send your kids and their kids' kids and have that commitment to saying goodbye to these people. You'll never see them again. They'll never see you again. And they'll never see Earth again until generations go by. That's too much of a commitment.
The only practical course, says Wilson, is to keep listening, keep straining for some signal from whoever's out there. But for Peter Ward, the evidence suggests we could listen and listen and listen, and most likely all we'll ever hear is silence. For Nightline, I'm Robert Krulwich.
When we come back, I'll talk to someone who disagrees with just about everything you've just heard and will do almost anything he can to prove that we're not all alone.
Thank heavens for turbos. Introducing the all-new Volvo V70 T5, the next generation family car.
So, they've got this new golden dollar coin. I know what you're thinking. Why isn't George on it? Well, appearing on money isn't my only gig.
Less than 5 miles by land.
I'm president of my book club. 1, 2, 3, and I teach. And change. Anyway, the coin's totally cool to help me.
Houston, we have a dollar.
Introducing the new golden dollar. It's changing the face of money.
Hey, change happens.
I have a great respect for the sun. I believe in the sun.
He also has a thing about trees. And in the embers of a wood-burning stove, he sees a power plant of the future.
Fossil fuels on their own can't be the answer.
He believes one day almost half our energy could come from renewable sources, like solar panels and sustainable forests. He's been called a dreamer and an oddball.
And I've been called a hippie.
But more recently, a project manager for Shell.
That new boss is from another planet.
Totally spaced out at that meeting.
Hey, what's that on your desk?
abcnews.com. Ready when you are.
Volunteers, we all have regular jobs. We can be coming from anywhere. We get a call, we need to get to the fire right now.
Things that are going through our mind are the hazards we might face so that when we get on scene, we're ready to act.
We need a truck that can handle anything we throw at it.
4 full-size doors gets us in and out quickly.
There's 6 people in the cab and there's a ton of room for cargo. Great truck.
And joining us now from our New York studios, Seth Shostak is a public program scientist with SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, an organization that has been searching for life in the universe for the past 40 years, and you're about to close up shop now, I take it, huh?
Definitely not going to close up shop.
All right, give me your best shot. Why do you think Krulwich and his friends are wrong?
Well, listen, most of the factors that they pointed to as saying, look, you know, this is a fairly rare circumstance, are somewhat akin to my looking at my brother. I find that he's got, you know, a patch of hair missing here, and he's got a mole there, and so forth and so on. And I might conclude from that that maybe my brother was the only person on the planet to get the measles. But in fact, none of those factors were critical in determining whether you can get the measles. I think that very few of these factors are critical in determining whether we're going to get sophisticated life.
Tell me which of the things that you heard reported over the last few minutes you take issue with. Because, I mean, technically, I suppose it's possible for every one of those things to be absolutely correct and for there still to be intelligent life out there.
Well, that's right. Take, for example, this business of having just the right ingredients in your planetary system. You know, stars near the center of the galaxy will have too few metals, as they're called, heavy elements. Planets near the edge will have too few. Well, I don't know, Ted, that's a bit like saying, look, this apple is inedible because, you know, there are these seeds in the middle and there's this skin on the outside, but there's plenty of meat in between. And the facts are that well over 90% of all the stars in our galaxy, well over 90%, have perfectly acceptable ingredients for making life.
All right, let me turn the question around on you then for a moment. Other than simply inferring that it has to be a mathematical probability simply because there are so many stars and planets and galaxies out there, have you ever had even the slightest piece of evidence that there might be intelligent life out there?
Well, we haven't so far, I must confess that, and that Peter is right about that. We haven't discovered the aliens. I mean, but to me that's like asking Chris Columbus 3 days out of Spain, you know, discovered any new continents lately. You know, say, well, no, it was just water today, and it was water yesterday, too. That's our situation. I mean, this is one of those experiments that hasn't succeeded until one day you pick up that signal.
And yet the proposition, which I heard toward the end there, that even if there is intelligent life, it is likely to be so far away. I mean, we're talking about distances that are almost impossible for most of us to imagine, that it would take generations of humans traveling at near the speed of light to approach them. Isn't that the functional equivalent of it being impossible?
Well, that's a somewhat different issue. That's a question of going there or coming here, as many people believe has happened. I'm not among those. But yes, I think that travel between the stars is going to be a tough job. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about finding the aliens in situ, as it were. We're finding them where they live on the basis of radio or light emissions, transmissions, beacons that they may be beaming our way. And they could be on the other side of the galaxy, and there would still be hope of finding them.
But if they are on the other side of the galaxy, And even if they are beaming emissions to us as we are beaming emissions to them, wouldn't generations pass between the beamings so that we'd never really be able to exchange information except on a multi-generational basis?
It would be pretty much one way. To begin with, we're not beaming into space, by the way. All these experiments, SETI, is a matter of listening. We're just trying to eavesdrop on any transmissions that may have been sent quite some time ago. And you're quite right. If they're very far away, we're not going to have a two-way conversation. That might take thousands of years to say hello and get some sort of reply. That would be tedious, of course. But, you might read Julius Caesar. That message originated 2,000 years ago. You can't talk back to Julius, but it's still interesting to learn something about his life.
So a final message to Robert and his friends?
Well, I would simply say that, Peter Ward may be right, but he cannot prove that he's right. We, on the other hand, can prove that he's wrong. Chris Columbus could sit around and argue about whether there might be a continent between Europe and Japan, and he could argue that all night long and all day long. In the end, he has to get on the ship and do the experiment.
Quickly run that one by for me again. What was that last thing you said? You can prove that he's wrong?
Yes. If we find that faint whine, that signal from another civilization, then we'll know we're not the only picture hanging on the wall. We're just a small tile in a very large mosaic.
I got you. You're speaking about your hopes and expectations, not anything you have in hand.
We have not heard it as of yet.
All right. I thank you very much for joining us. I'll be back in a moment.